an Iranian assassination threat against the president. President Trump and some of his aides, after they boarded the Air Force One, were secretly taken off the plane through a back door into a catering compartment that is usually used to deliver food and other supplies to the plane. They were then driven to a smaller government plane that flew them all to the United Kingdom.
Correspondent Darlene Superville reporting. Israel's military says it struck a Hamas commander in a northern Gaza targeted drone strike. The attack Wednesday marked the first targeted strike Israel has announced since August 3rd. Targeted strikes have come under closer scrutiny since President Trump announced a deal aimed at advancing peace efforts in Gaza that would include halting them. A mixed day on Wall Street with the Dow down by 21 points. The Nasdaq rose 143. The S&P 500 advanced 20. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Are you carrying more than $10,000 in credit card debt? Do you feel like you're running on a financial treadmill, making payment after payment, month after month, yet never getting ahead? If you're tired of watching your hard-earned money disappear into interest charges, there may be options available to help you take back control of your finances. At Total Financial Freedom, they'll show you what qualified consumers may be able to save through programs designed to help them resolve debt faster than making minimum payments alone. The consultation is free, confidential, and comes with absolutely no obligation. Why spend years, sometimes decades, paying thousands in interest when there may be a better path forward? Total Financial Freedom is a Christian-owned company that has helped thousands of Americans pursue financial freedom for nearly 20 years and is proudly A-plus rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now and ask how you can receive a complimentary copy of The Debt Dietitian. Stop running in place. Start moving toward financial freedom at 866-844-7344. 866-844-7344.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg, 101.1 The Answer. Arkansas lawmakers and the NAACP are calling for answers after a state trooper punched an 18-year-old during a traffic stop. Dashcam video shows Trooper Moises Ariano taking Alyssa Hackett to the ground and striking her in the face. Ariano remains on active duty as the incident is reviewed. Arkansas State Police are investigating the death of a 43-year-old inmate serving a decades-long prison sentence. David Pyle of Springdale was sentenced to 33 years for fatally stabbing 30-year-old Cody Tisdale on Christmas Eve 2021. Officials have not released details on when or how Pyle died. Toyota is recalling about 655,000 Camry vehicles worldwide because of a display problem. The issue can deactivate turn signals, hazard lights, and other safety warnings during startup. More than 508,000 2025 and 2026 Camry hybrids in the U.S. are affected. Tammy Chase Insurance, your local insurance expert, taking the time to understand your needs with no confusion and no pressure. Find out more at TammyChaseInsurance.com. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm Tony Desiri, 101.1 The Answer. Major League Baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals are playing this afternoon, wrapping up their series with the Philadelphia Phillies. The Cardinals won Tuesday night 2-0. Everson Pereira with a home run. Andre Palante tossed 6 scoreless innings. Friday, they'll face the Cubs at Wrigley Field. NFL, the Dallas Cowboys opening up their preseason schedule on Saturday night, facing the Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field. Dallas held a joint workout with the Rams in Los Angeles Tuesday. Quarterback Dak Prescott will not play Saturday in the preseason opener. Joe Milton and Will Greer will be getting the reps. NASCAR racing under the lights at Richmond Saturday. It's the Cookout 400. 3 races remaining before the start of the 10-race playoff. Austin Dillon is the race's defending champion. They will go 400 laps around Richmond's D-shaped layout, which will run 300 miles. The sports update brought to you by Progressive. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri with your sports flash on 101.1 The Answer.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
In 1783, the Revolutionary War was nearly over, but America's future remained uncertain. Officers in the Continental Army were angry. Congress had failed to provide promised pay, and some considered using the Army's power to force the government's hand. George Washington understood their frustration, but he also knew the liberty they had fought to win could be destroyed by the very army that secured it. Washington confronted his officers and urged them to choose honor, patience, and loyalty to the Republic over rebellion. He could have used their anger to increase his own power. Instead, he used his influence to restrain it. Power asks what it can take. Character asks what duty requires. Washington's lesson still stands. Freedom survives when leaders place principle above ambition. and remain faithful to God, country, and the people they serve.
Live from Little Rock, Doc Washburn.
It's fun when they let me out to go talk to people.
He's like the adorable puppy, you know. He chews on your Christian Louboutins, but somehow you still love him.
They say I'm a distinguished radio talk show.
No insult intended. The news you don't get anywhere else. Doc Washburn.
It's good to be able to get out of the studio so that I can actually kiss hands and shake babies.
You just can't make this stuff up.
As we say here in the natural state, y'all come see us.
You better watch what you say, or you might just find yourself with the lead role.
The Doc Washburn Show. Weekday afternoons, 4 to 6.
If I don't lie down and take a nap, I'm going to keel over.
Doc Washburn on 101.1. The Answer.
Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
101.1 The Answer. The Doc Washer Show continues. If we're talking about something in the news that you want to talk about on the radio, number to call is 501-401-1011. We're in the Lucas Total Wealth Studios. Schedule your total wealth evaluation today so that you can thrive in retirement at totalwealth.com. This is my buddy, David Lucas. Known him for years. Good man. So I don't know if you realize, but the Charlie Kirk Show continues on a cable channel and internet news website called Real America's Voice. And Senator Ron Johnson was on. Well, basically, the guys that were producing Charlie Kirk's show thought that they should try to the best of their ability to continue his talk show mission. So they're doing that. I know he was on Salem radio stations before he was tragically taken from us. I think he was probably already on Real America's Voice simulcasting, but they are still on Real America's Voice. And I say all that to say this. Wisconsin, United States Senator Ron Johnson, who has been one of the leading people in Washington, D.C., questioning all things COVID-19 from the start. He was the guy, as a matter of fact. So I was filling in. I was going to fill in for Mark Levin, his national show, December of 2020. And the day before I filled in for Mark Levin, I saw that Senator Ron Johnson had a guy testify before a subcommittee named Dr. Pierre Corey. And that's how I found out about ivermectin. And I played a lot of audio from that interview on Mark Levin's national show. And I think that's probably how a lot of people found out about ivermectin. This was shortly before the rollout of the vaccine and Operation Warp Speed. Anyway, so Ron Johnson has been very skeptical and very critical of how the whole COVID situation was handled from day one. Now, he goes on the Charlie Kirk Show over on Real America's Voice, talking about the needle in the haystack that they found, because they got a hold of, and Ron Johnson is the head of a subcommittee under Rand Paul's Committee on Homeland Security. They got a hold of Anthony Fauci's government cell phone. And they're going through all these texts. And clearly some things have been monkeyed with, because most of the texts are just to cell phone numbers. There are only 3 contacts in his contact list. Anyway. So Ron Johnson was on with Andrew Colvett at the Charlie Kirk Show, talking about the things they have discovered here just this week from Fauci's government-issued mobile phone. So let's start with cut 1, please.
We just got his phone late last week. We were able to download that into searchable forms, and then my staff started looking at some key dates, and they pulled this needle out of the haystack, which I thought we better get into the public realm as soon as possible, because it impacts public health. It impacts informed consent. If I'm a woman who's about to get pregnant or pregnant, I'd want to know that Anthony Fauci apparently had knowledge. I've never seen this. I've covered this or watched this very closely. I never knew that they had information that you had higher cytokine storms after the second dose. Brand new information to me. And of course, with fever, that could impact, theoretically, miscarriages in the first trimester.
Yes. Something that they were very aware of. Anthony Fauci texting with then Surgeon General Vivek Murthy and then CDC Director Rochelle Walensky, very aware of. But they didn't say a word about it. Not one word. I had to Google today because Fox News Channel's chief medical expert is a guy named Dr. Mark Siegel. And he's always been such a huge proponent of all things COVID-19 vaccine. And I was just wondering, has he even been on Fox News since Fauci made a fool of himself, invoking the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination 111 times on July 29th, even though he's already pardoned? Even though he made wide-ranging claims in his opening statement, opening himself up to question. I was just wondering, has Fox News even had their pro-COVID-19 vaccine guy back on, Dr. Mark Siegel? Well, turns out he's still pro-mRNA. He's still pro-COVID-19 vaccine, but he was on Martha McCallum's show, The Story, either today or yesterday. So not nearly the kind of audience he would have on a nighttime show like the Hard News Hour with Brett Baer or the 5 before it or Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity after it. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Pfizer spends a lot of advertising money on TV networks and cable news. All right. You have to, as the late, great Rush Limbaugh would say, you have to listen quickly to the next clip because it's only about 8 or 9 seconds, and I'll explain to you after we play it what Ron Johnson is referring to. Cut 2, please.
He's talking about this a little more than a month after the emergency use authorization. Theirs is already being deluged with adverse events, which they're all ignoring.
Okay, what he said there is theirs is already being deluged with adverse events from people getting the COVID shot, which they're all ignoring. Now, theirs is V as in victory, AERS. It stands for Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. And it was being deluged early on with people having all kinds of things go wrong as soon as they get the COVID vaccine and the follow-up, the booster. Sadly, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, theirs, is totally voluntary. So, if you are a general practitioner, if you are a pediatrician, you had a urgent care clinic, you're a hospital, whatever, and you're administering the COVID vaccine and you have some bad effects and you don't want to report it, you don't have to. But a lot of people did. And as Ron Johnson said, they're aware of this and they're ignoring it. Wow. All right, Ron Johnson, the Charlie Kirk Show, talking about Fauci and the COVID-19 vaccine problems. Cut 3, please.
I appreciate the fact that now this has made news because it's associated with Fauci, but an even more egregious example of the federal health officials knowing the danger of these shots and saying nothing about it was a month later, Peter Marks, the head of the FDA division that approves vaccines and is supposed to surveil for safety, was warned that his algorithm would hide safety signals. 26 days later, using a new algorithm, he was shown dozens of safety signals, including sudden cardiac death, pulmonary infarction, which, by the way, Fauci suffered from himself in June of 2021. Different types of strokes. And they buried it. To this day, they're not acknowledging it.
No, they're not acknowledging it. Jake Tapper, he did a little live shot, about 3 minutes for his viewers, trying to give them, the conventional wisdom on Rand Paul versus Fauci. Didn't say a word about all the evidence that had come out. Didn't say that Fauci and Jake Tapper had dinner while they were excoriating anybody else who had the gall to have a Thanksgiving dinner with close family. It's outrageous. Now, we're about an hour away from United States Senator Tom Cotton coming on the show. We're going to ask him about Fauci and the best ways to try to hold him accountable. But we're also going to ask him about an allegation that came out last week that he's trying to keep former CIA Director John Brennan from being indicted by the Justice Department. He's denied it, but nobody else has asked him about it. So I want to get him on the record. Okay, so what's the context? Why is John Solomon saying this? Anyway, that's coming up at 5:15. Coming up straight ahead, we'll have one more audio clip from Ron Johnson as the Doc Washer Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station. 101.1 The Answer.
What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
The news never stops, and neither does your schedule. That's why we're here, keeping you up to date with all the biggest stories of the day. We're 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. When you need the news that matters most, you need the Doc Washburn Show. Live and local, Doc covers the latest breaking news from Arkansas and across the nation. Plus, he digs into the stories no one else is talking about, the issues that affect you, your family, and your community. Smart analysis, straight talk, real conversations. The Doc Washburn Show.
Hey, Doc, I appreciate you taking my call. I feel really confident to say anytime that I turn on the radio and you're on the radio, I know that I'm going to get accurate reporting. I'm going to get unbiased perspective, and I want you to know I appreciate it. You do an exceptional job. So I'm listening with intent because I know and I trust that you're going to give us the facts and not an opinion per se.
The Doc Washburn Show, weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Here's NASCAR Hall of Famer Mark Martin.
As a race car driver for 40 years, I survived a lot of crashes. Not everyone can run into a wall at 200 miles an hour and walk away. Without a seatbelt, I wouldn't be alive today. Now I'm retired, back home in Arkansas driving my pickup. I'm shocked how many people aren't wearing seatbelts. Why risk your life when it only takes 2 seconds to buckle up? Take it from number 6. Buckle up, Arkansas.
A message from the Arkansas State Police Highway Safety Office.
The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. We're talking about something you want to talk about. Number to call, 501-401-1450. 1011 to get on the radio and talk to us about it. Now, I just want to say something, because we do have Senator Tom Cotton coming up in less than an hour, scheduled for 5:15. And I have a theory, and it's a lot bigger than Tom Cotton, but I have a theory. We were lied to so consistently and for so many years about COVID-19. A lot of us don't believe anybody anymore about anything. And that's what's up. So, I mean, plus, most people, unlike me, have lives. I'm down in the weeds trying to research stuff. My producer, Val Emmons, is actually a journalist. I'm just a recovering DJ impersonating a talk show host. She's down in the weeds trying to research stuff. And, you know, so when I say to people, hey, did you know that back in February 2020, that early, February 2020, before they shut the whole country down, Tom Cotton said, you know, maybe we should look into the theory that COVID-19 didn't come from a bat naturally and something goofed up at a wet market. What if it leaked from that lab over there in Wuhan? People are like, wait, he said that all the way back in February 2020? Yeah. And in 2021, that early, he was calling for Fauci to be fired. People are like, what? So anyway, if you are an elected politician, doesn't matter if you have an R or a D by your name, a lot of people don't trust you anymore because the federal government lied to us so constantly and for so many years about COVID, and people are like a pox in all their houses. So that's what people have to deal with who are in office or running for office. Just thought I'd put that out there. Anyway, because look, I'll give you an example. Rand Paul or Ron Johnson, two of the people who've really been trying to hold Fauci accountable, they post something on social media and people are like, oh, let me guess, another strongly worded letter. I wonder how many people in this country don't realize that a United States senator or a United States representative over in the House does not have the legal authority to indict anyone, because a lot of people on social media act like they think they do. Rand Paul has made criminal referrals on Dr. Fauci to the Department of Justice several times. What else do people want him to do? Well, you're wasting your time with all that until I want to see somebody in handcuffs. Well, apparently Rand Paul and Ron Johnson want to see somebody in handcuffs too. But they can't charge anybody with anything. They can't indict anybody. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. Or as the libs would say, I'm not trying to harsh your mellow. But I'm just saying that the founders, in their wisdom, set up a federal government with three branches. And there's certain things that the executive branch has the authority to do, and certain things the executive branch doesn't have the authority to do. There's certain things the legislative branch has the authority to do, certain things the legislative branch doesn't have the authority to do. There's certain things the judicial branch has the authority to do. There's certain things the judicial branch doesn't have the authority to do. When any one of those branches gets out of line, the way it's set up is another branch is supposed to hold them accountable. Most people know that there have been impeachments of presidents. Probably very few people know that it is possible also to impeach a federal judge. It has been done. Not very often, but it has been done. So anyway. All right. Now, having said all that, a little bit earlier in the show, to start the show out, we were playing audio from Ron Johnson talking about some blazing blockbuster stuff that they found from Anthony Fauci's government-issued mobile phone. He was talking about it on the Charlie Kirk show, which Andrew Colvett and other people who worked closely with Charlie have been continuing over on Real America's Voice. So let's go with cut 4, please. It's probably buffering. The problem is we have too much bandwidth, I think. Okay, a storage location problem. Yeah. That's what they said one time when I was trying to load the U-Haul. Hey! A storage location problem. People younger than me probably know what that means. But
people like Fauci, Peter Marks, Tom Schimbacura, the very people who are supposed to be watching these things and warning doctors, practitioners, the public, if they were watching it, they sure weren't telling us. This is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just one small little thread of evidence that Anthony Fauci knew more, and he did not carry out his responsibility of warning the American public about what he knew, what he feared, what he was hypothesizing.
There you go. So will he be held accountable? Now, there are 5 states. There are 5 states that have announced they're investigating Anthony Fauci, because a president can pardon anybody he wants to for any federal crime the person may have committed. You don't even have to be charged. But the president cannot pardon anyone for any federal crime, state crimes he may have committed. No can do. So, Florida, Alabama, West Virginia, Louisiana, and Oklahoma have all announced that they are investigating Anthony Fauci for the ramifications of what he did and how that affected their states. Why is Arkansas not announcing they're investigating Anthony Fauci? Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. I mean, Florida and Alabama have even announced they're subpoenaing all kinds of records on Fauci. And the other 3 may be. I don't know. Anyway. Oh, by the way, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, the president announced today that she is going back into the private sector, spend time with her wonderful small children. She's done a fantastic job. She'll continue to be an advisor from the outside to President Trump. Couldn't have been a nicer announcement. And I'm wondering if maybe our governor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, will take this opportunity to try to get her old job back. 2002, 2003. Well, she said on a podcast of Politico over at Wright's Barbecue a few months ago, she wants to go back to D.C., but this time she wants to sit in the boss's chair. And since no actually elected president's ever going to let her do that, the closest she could get would be to go back to being the White House press secretary. Just a thought, I think out loud. Doc Washer Show continues. 101.1 The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, the youngest person to hold the role, will leave at month's end, President Donald Trump announced Wednesday. Leavitt, 28, just recently returned to the White House after taking a brief leave for the birth of her second child in May. Leavitt has been one of the most visible advocates of Trump's Make America Great Again movement. Newly unsealed court records show that a former Southern Poverty Law Center official has been charged in the Department of Justice's broader criminal case against the Alabama-based civil rights group. Heidi Beirich is a political extremism expert who left the Law Center about 6 years ago. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 21 points, the Nasdaq rose 143, the S&P advanced 20. More details at srnnews.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-2085. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-2085 or Big Lou.
Mike Gallagher sees the president fulfilling a promise.
There is a dramatic decline in violent crime in America. He wants to make America great again, wants to make America prosperous again, he wants to make America safe again. I've seen and been to enough rallies. That was in his DNA. He says it over and over again. Well, guess what? He's making America safer again. It's a fact.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weeknights at 11 on 101.1. The Answer.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Abdul El-Sayed won Michigan's recent primary for the United States Senate seat that is open in Michigan. He's the most radical Democratic nominee for the Senate since the Civil War. He'll face GOP Congressman and Army veteran, FBI special agent as well, Mike Rogers, in the fall. El-Sayed campaigns with an Islamist supporting extremist by the name of Hassan Piker, who's also a racist and a misogynist. That El-Sayed hates the state of Israel is not open for debate. He does. Most Jews and many non-Jews believe that El-Sayed is anti-Semitic to the core. Rogers versus El-Sayed is the most important race of 2026. Michigan's collective common sense will be tested over the next 3 months. Will they vote for an experienced, responsible, serious legislator who understands the world and America's role in it and support Mike Rogers? Or will they vote for the radical who cares for, from the river to the sea, more than he does the national security of the United States? My money is on Mike Rogers.
We had a great vacation, but then we came back home, and after a few days, we found bed bugs or hitchhikers. We're pretty sure they joined us during our travels. That's not the souvenir we wanted, but thanks to the Bug Man, we're better now. We just wish we'd called them sooner because, unfortunately, they had spread from room to room.
Call the Bug Man at 663-9464 or go to bugman.com and check out their coupons. No contracts required. The Bug Man has been serving our community for 45 years. Call 663-9464.
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. We're talking about something you want to talk about. Number to call to get on the radio with me is 501-401-1011. Now, I gotta announce something here. Do you remember when the feds announced a few months ago? It was Deputy Attorney General, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, shortly after Pam Blondie was shown the door. They announced that they had some federal indictments against the Southern Poverty Law Center. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which for generations has been talking about how they're standing up for the civil rights of minorities and they're fighting against the bad guys. And it turned out they were funding the bad guys and making millions and millions of dollars off of ginning up controversies by funding the bad guys. But here's the deal. At the time, a lot of people said, hey, if this was a legit prosecution Department of Justice was doing to try to stop Southern Poverty Law Center from being a hate group, from using federal money to be a hate group, from all this kind of stuff. How come there aren't any indictments of any actual people? Then, well, that's kind of like an exclamation mark. They announced 8 indictments of the organization, Southern Poverty Law Center. But why should we take this seriously if they haven't indicted one or more persons in Southern Poverty Law Center leadership? And I could see that argument. I could see that question. But at the same time, I was thinking, well, maybe that's next. Maybe this is the first step. You don't just launch federal criminal trials, federal indictments by the seat of your pants. You know, you got to make sure the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. Turns out I may have been right. Reporting now, Southern Poverty Law Center CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Heidi Byrick, was previously identified as one of the Southern Poverty Law Center leaders who assisted in opening bank accounts with fictitious companies' names to make payments to the leaders of hate groups. And apparently she was in a romantic relationship with a Nazi whom she funded. Now, I understand about keeping it all in the family, but I think that would be inappropriate to say on the air. I'm sorry. No. Even I have standards. I know. It's hard to show, hard to prove that if you listen to the show. But anyway, no, even I have limits. I know. I probably couldn't make a case. Anyway, according to CNN, Byrick has been charged as part of a superseding indictment with wire fraud conspiracy to submit false statements to a federally insured bank, and conspiracy to conceal money laundering. And they got the link to the CNN. Buddy. A former Southern Poverty Law Center finance officer was arrested Wednesday over her involvement in secretly paying informants in white supremacist groups. See, the Southern Poverty Law Center is supposed to be the organization that is trying to stop the white supremacist groups. That's what all the liberals who give them millions of dollars believed for decades. Turns out they were funding the white supremacist groups. I know. You can't make it up. No, I have not been able to independently confirm whether the SPLC has a branch office in Harrison, Arkansas. I have no idea. I don't have any evidence on that. So cut that out. Heidi Byrick was apprehended in California. Attorney General Todd Blanche confirmed in an unrelated news conference at DOJ headquarters that there, quote, was an arrest made, unquote, in the case. Well, I guess there was. Oh, buddy. This is nuts. Oh, by the way, hat tip to Sundance over the conservativetreehouse.com. They got a screenshot here. The SPLC, this is from the superseding indictment. The SPLC paid F9 for over 20 years. 20 years. However, in just the time period alleged in the second superseding indictment, the SPLC secretly paid F9 over $1.2 million in money that came from donors to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Most of this money was secretly funneled to F9 through the Tech Writers bank account. Heidi Byrick oversaw payments of donors' money to the Fs, including F9. Byrick was also in a romantic relationship with F9. Yeah. See, that's unsavory. You know, I might even go to the extent to say it's unseemly. During this relationship, Southern Poverty Law Center Chief Financial Officer Heidi Byrick and F9 shared a house and 2 bank accounts. Told you. Keep it all in the family. Between 2015 and 2021, approximately $140,000 in donors' money flowed from the SPLC operating account through the Tech Writers account and was ultimately deposited into the joint bank accounts held by F9 and Byrick. This amounted to approximately 66% of all money ever deposited into their joint bank accounts. Byrick then used donors' money to pay the couple's personal living expenses. You know, I don't want to go too far out on a limb here, but it almost sounds like they might have been defrauding their donors. I wish you could see the face I just made on the Facebook live stream. This is just nuts. I mean, good grief. Anyway, so I just thought I should share that with you because, again, I thought that, you know, well, look, no, I'll put it this way. I have been critical enough of a number of different things the DOJ has or hasn't done, a number of different things the FBI has or hasn't done under the Trump administration. So when they get something right, I mean, I got to let you know about that, right? Good grief. Speaking of Fauci. So Jeffrey A. Tucker started the Brownstone Institute years ago to try to push back against the government trying to take away our rights in the COVID situation. And he's got an interview out there now with a woman named Trish Wood. By the way, he's at brownstone.org. Trish Wood just revealed that Anthony Fauci knew that AIDS doctors were saving lives with one treatment. She begged Dr. Fauci to recommend that one treatment, yet he refused. Even as patients were dropping like flies, Anthony Fauci would not tell clinicians to use the drug called Bactrim. See, I'm learning all this stuff because I didn't know. I had no idea who Fauci was until COVID kicked in. Anyway, she says, I did an interview with Tony at the NIH in his office that would have been world famous had it ever been broadcast. It was about his refusal to tell AIDS clinicians that the drug Bactrim could prevent pneumocystis carinii pneumonia. We went in the next day, all fired up, of course, with a crew to interview him at the NIH about it, and he would not back down. Until we have a double-blind controlled placebo, I won't recommend it. That's what he said. I kept saying, but the doctors treating these guys are saying it's working and saving lives. And Dr. Fauci said, that's not how I roll. See, I had no idea that there were folks all the way back in the 80s during the AIDS crisis who said that Fauci was getting people killed, because I'd always heard that HIV AIDS thing, there's no cure. Give them AZT, but then a lot of them still going to die. That's all I heard about in the news. And yet Magic Johnson is now HIV negative. So maybe he took that Bactrim stuff. I don't know. Anyway, the great Toby Rogers, who I follow over there on X, and he's at the Brownstone Institute. He wrote The Political Economy of Autism. He says, Tony Fauci blocked access to the antibiotic Bactrim during the AIDS epidemic, even though it was the most effective treatment for the pneumocystis carinii pneumonia that was killing many AIDS patients. Fauci was creating the market for AZT. That one decision killed over 30,000 Americans. I never heard anything about Fauci, much less Fauci and the AIDS crisis, until 2 or 3 years into the COVID crisis. But people in that community, or for that matter, people who are just paying attention to politics back in the 80s, they knew. So anyway, no, think about it. The Biden auto pen pardon of Fauci covers any crimes he may have committed from January 1st, 2014 through January 19th, 2021. The fact that people are accusing him of refusing a treatment that would have saved lives back in the 80s, that's not covered by any pardon or anything. So, well, seems like maybe it's time for the California Attorney General to say we're investigating Fauci. Just a thought. What do I know? For that matter, you got a new federal Attorney General, Todd Blanche. Even if you're not going to challenge the auto pen pardon, because presidents have been using the auto pen since Harry Truman. And there's nothing in the Constitution that says when a president pardons somebody, he's got to write it down. But, so if they want to challenge the auto, but Oval Office employees under Biden have testified under oath he didn't know about all those auto pen pardons. Okay, so if you could prove he didn't know about that one, then you're good to go, and you can prosecute him for whatever federally. But even if you can't do that, you want to look at the deaths he may be responsible for back in the 80s? I mean, that's totally open. There's no pardon before January 1st, 2014. Just a thought. You know what we do here. We think out loud, think outside the box. All right, Doc Washer's show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
You've put up with your old shower for too long. It's outdated, unsafe, and it's time to replace it. But why struggle with a lengthy shower remodel when Jacuzzi can do it in just one day? And there's no need to break a sweat or your budget. Right now, we're waiving all installation costs, plus offering 0 interest and 0 payments for up to 1 year. So you can finally convert your old bath to a safer, easy entry shower, complete with a custom seat, grab bars, and slip-resistant floor installed in 1 day.
My overall experience with Jacuzzi has been wonderful. Everything was customized to the way I wanted it for the price that I wanted to pay.
To schedule your free design consultation and get free installation plus 0 interest and 0 payments for up to 1 year, call Jacuzzi today. Call 800-384-3088. That's 800-384-3088. 800-384-3088. With purchase and installation financing through third-party lenders subject to credit approval. No interest and no payments if paid in full within 12 months. Interest charged from purchase date if not paid in full. Not all will qualify. Some installs take longer. Call dealer for details.
What if you could take 101.1 The Answer with you everywhere? You can. Download the 101.1 The Answer app and stay connected to the voices you trust, live and on demand. Wake up with Dave Ellswick. Stay sharp with Doc Washburn. And hear from national voices like Chris DeGaulle, Scott Jennings, Hugh Hewitt, Larry Elder, and Mike Gallagher. Breaking news, bold opinions, local insight, national perspective, all in one place, all in your pocket, at work, in the car, on the go. If it matters to Arkansas and America, you'll hear it on 101.1 The Answer. Plus, stream us live anywhere. Catch up on podcasts and never miss a moment. Search 101.1 The Answer in your app store and download it today. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, But even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. If we're talking about something you want to talk about on the air, number to call is 501-401-1011. Now, we are, I guess about 24 minutes away from Senator Tom Cotton coming on for the second time in 8 days. Right about the time we did the interview last week, John Solomon over there at justthenews.com was claiming with 100% certainty that Tom Cotton and John Thune were blocking federal grand jury's attempt to see whether they could indict John Brennan, former CIA director. And regardless of what you agree or disagree with Tom Cotton on, regardless of what you think about John Thune, I was trying to do the math in my head about thinking that Tom Cotton would want to run cover for John Brennan. I couldn't make that work. It didn't make any sense to me. And pretty quickly after John Solomon said that with 100% certainty, Tom Cotton was trying to block DOJ from getting some intel about John Brennan, Tom Cotton went out on social media and just a blanket condemnation of what John Solomon said. Completely wrong. That's not true. Okay, so in the meantime, it's been over a week and nobody, no reporter, no journalist, no talk show host, not even Maria Bartiromo on Fox News Sunday, nobody's asked Tom Cotton, hey, could you put this into context? I mean, how did John Solomon get this so wrong? What actually happened? Have you talked to him? Have you gotten a apology, anything? So anyway, we'll talk about it. Tom Cotton scheduled to be on the program at 5:15 today. So we'll see what happens on that. Because when it dawned on me, well, he actually wanted to come on the show, and put this whole thing into perspective. And I'm great, sure, man. Republican United States Senator running for re-election, wants to come back on the show, sure. But then it dawned on me today because I did a little bit of, when you Google something these days, this Google AI assist thing comes up. You have to click on a link. And I was just asking it. I said, okay, so here's what John Solomon said. Here's what Tom Cotton said. In the meantime, has anyone, reporter, journalist, talk show host, anyone asked Tom Cotton for his thoughts on this? Nope, nobody has. I'm like, okay, all right, well, we'll do that, God willing, at 5:15 today. So if you heard about this guy, Hassan Piker, the Muslim guy that all these Democrat socialists in America are campaigning with, the guy who said that we deserved 9/11, the guy who says that Trump should be shot. He even says that U.S. Senator Rick Scott out of Florida should be shot. Well, the FBI out of L.A. is offering a reward of up to $5,000 for information leading to the successful prosecution of criminals who violate the Preventing Animal Cruelty and Torture Act, a federal law that carries penalties of up to 7 years in prison. Anyone who believes they have evidence against anyone suspected of breaking this law is urged to email the FBI in LA at the following tip line: Animal Crimes Tip Line at ic.fbi.gov. Now, if you're driving down 430, you're probably not going to be able to write that down. If you're driving down 630, you're not going to pull over and try to write that down. But when you get home, if you just look for FBI LA, FBI Los Angeles on X or on Facebook, you'll find it. Statute which President Trump signed into law in November 2019 criminalizes engaging in animal abuse in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce and making animal crushing videos that depict obscene animal abuse. And they got a link for additional details. So somebody said, hey, Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer said, hello, FBI Los Angeles. I'd like to report a Muslim communist streamer named Hassan Piker who abused his dog while he was streaming. Hassan Piker lives in Los Angeles. In the video she's got embedded here, you can see Hassan Piker screaming at his dog and electrocuting his dog with a shock collar because she got up to stretch her legs while he was streaming. He then screamed, I effing hate this country so much. Loomer says, if I get the reward, I will donate it to a no-kill animal shelter in honor of Hassan Piker's dog, Kaya. Yeah, see, I'm wondering why the guy hasn't been prosecuted. Hassan Piker, who says the president should be shot and U.S. Senator out of Florida, Rick Scott, should be shot. Now, you got 100 U.S. senators. I don't understand why Hassan Piker picked Rick Scott out of Florida. I interviewed him years and years ago, shortly after he got elected governor. Seemed like a nice guy, but then communist Muslims don't tend to like nice guys. So Hassan Piker is, one of those guys. But I don't know why this guy's still walking around a free man. No, I know Todd Blanche just got approved over the weekend to be Attorney General. I expect a lot of good things out of him. We'll see. The announcement about the Southern Poverty Law Center today, that was a good thing. Anyway, Tom Cotton interview scheduled for 5:15 Central. More coming up as the Doc Washer Show continues. 101.1 The Answer.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
In 1783, the Revolutionary War was nearly over, but America's future remained uncertain. Officers in the Continental Army were angry. Congress had failed to provide promised pay, and some considered using the Army's power to force the government's hand. George Washington understood their frustration, but he also knew the liberty they had fought to win could be destroyed by the very army that secured it. Washington confronted his officers and urged them to choose honor, patience, and loyalty to the Republic over rebellion. He could have used their anger to increase his own power. Instead, he used his influence to restrain it. Power asks what it can take. Character asks what duty requires. Washington's lesson still stands. Freedom survives when leaders place principle above ambition and remain faithful to God, country, and the people they serve.
Find us at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Download our app, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Donald Trump says White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt will be leaving the administration at the end of the month to spend time with her young family. Leavitt recently returned to work after taking leave following the birth of her second child, a daughter, in May. She also has a 2-year-old son. Leavitt described the decision as bittersweet. A historic and destructive storm tore through across Indiana yesterday. Indiana Governor Mike Braun says Tuesday's storm was a statewide disaster, bringing winds over 90 miles an hour to some areas and flooding to others.
There were places down like around Newcastle, Henry County, got up to 10 inches of rain. So where it was mostly wind up here and losing power in that neck of the woods, roads were being washed out. There were a lot of water rescues. So this was quite a storm that moved across our state.
Officials have declared a state of emergency. One person was killed in Portage, Indiana, when a home exploded during the storm. A look at one of the closest watched races in Wisconsin primaries yesterday.
In Wisconsin, Francesca Hong losing to Milwaukee County Executive moderate David Crowley by a percentage point. Even though she's a Democrat socialist, Bernie Sanders and AOC did not endorse her. Video had surfaced of Hong saying she hates holidays, including Thanksgiving, and then she backtracked, doing a new video saying it was her favorite holiday. Crowley is looking to become Wisconsin's first black governor. He faces Republican Congressman Tom Tiffany, who was endorsed by President Trump.
Correspondent Laura Winters reporting. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 21 points, the Nasdaq rose 143, the S&P advanced 20. More at townhall.com.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds, and you're overweight. Winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you, with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou, because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-555-2085. 800-555-2085 or biglou.com.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg, 101.1 The Answer. Arkansas State Police are investigating the death of a 43-year-old inmate serving a decades-long prison sentence. David Pyle of Springdale was sentenced to 33 years for fatally stabbing 30-year-old Cody Tisdale on Christmas Eve 2021. Officials have not released details on when or how Pyle died. Toyota is recalling about 655,000 Camry vehicles worldwide because of a display problem. The issue can deactivate turn signals, hazard lights, and other safety warnings during startup. More than 508,000 2025 and 2026 Camry hybrids in the U.S. are affected. Arkansas lawmakers and the NAACP are calling for answers after a state trooper punched an 18-year-old during a traffic stop. Dashcam video shows Trooper Moises Ariano taking Alyssa Hackett to the ground and striking her in the face. Ariano remains on active duty as the incident is reviewed. Tammy Chase Insurance, your local insurance expert, taking the time to understand your needs with no confusion and no pressure. Find out more at TammyChaseInsurance.com. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm Tony Desiri, 101.1 The Answer. The PGA Tour will be in Memphis this week for the FedEx St. Jude Championship, which will be held at TPC Southwind. Justin Rose is the tournament's defending champion. This will begin the postseason with the top 70 players in the FedEx Cup point standings. The St. Louis Cardinals are playing this afternoon at Busch Stadium, wrapping up their series with Philadelphia. The Cardinals won Tuesday 2-0. Everson Pereira with a home run, and Andre Pallante tossed 6 scoreless innings. The Cardinals will be at Wrigley Field Friday for a series with the Cubs. The Dallas Cowboys working out with the LA Rams on Tuesday in Los Angeles, gearing up for their preseason opener, which will be against the Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field on Saturday. Quarterback Dak Prescott will not play in the preseason opener, with Joe Milton and Will Grier getting the reps at quarterback. The sports update brought to you by Progressive. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri with your sports flash on 101.1 The Answer.
Are you suffering with dizziness or balance issues? Do you just feel off? What about brain fog? Do you suffer with tightness in your neck or shoulders? How about exhaustion and vagus nerve imbalance? The Arkansas Upper Cervical Center may be able to help you. They're a husband and wife team who take a unique, all-natural approach to finding the root cause of your symptoms, and they've been helping people in Arkansas for years. To get a free consultation, just go to their website, turnmypoweron.com. Turnmypoweron.com.
It is finally time
for a straightforward assessment of the state of our nation.
What happens when the institutions built to protect liberty are accused of working against it? This weekend, Salem News Channel's America 250 film series presents Government Gangsters. Watch a hard-hitting look at power, corruption, and accountability in modern America. Saturday and Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Salem News Channel.
Live from Little Rock, Doc Washburn.
It's fun when they let me out to go talk to people.
He's like the adorable puppy, you know, he chews on your Christian Louboutins, but somehow you still love him.
They say I'm a distinguished radio talk show.
No insult intended. The news you don't get anywhere else. Doc Washburn.
It's good to be able to get out of the studio so that I can actually kiss hands and shake babies.
You just can't make this stuff up.
As we say here in the natural state, y'all come see us.
You better watch what you say, or you might just find yourself with the lead role. The Doc Washburn Show. Weekday afternoons, 4 to 6.
If I don't lie down and take a nap, I'm going to keel over.
Doc Washburn on 101.1. The Answer.
Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc?
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues, where if we're talking about something you want to talk about, number to call is 501-401-1011. Where we are, of course, in the Lucas Total Wealth Studios. Schedule your total wealth evaluation today so that you can thrive in retirement at totalwealth.com. Totalwealth.com. Lucas, of course, is David Lucas, and David Lucas has been a good buddy of mine since shortly after I got here in Arkansas 12 years ago. Now, coming up at 5:15, we have scheduled interview with Senator Tom Cotton. Looking forward to that. It just, these days, whatever John Solomon says these days, I'm like, I don't know, buddy. Got to take that with a grain of salt because you certainly seem to be pretty much off on your 100% certainty about Tom Cotton. But anyway, John Solomon today is saying the White House Government Transparency Task Force released documents newly declassified by President Trump that reveal a secret operation by the FBI and spy agencies to neutralize the Biden family corruption scandal during the 2020 election. Okay, well, he's reporting on something the White House released today. The counterintelligence, any links to the White House website. Okay, the counterintelligence operation was codenamed Round River, and it divided the characters of the Biden-Ukraine scandal into two categories. You could download them from the White House website. First category were Democrats like Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, George Soros, and others who were labeled victimized targets of the Russian disinformation. Second category involved conservatives like Bill Barr, Mike Pompeo, Chuck Grassley, Ron Johnson, Jim Jordan, Fox News, Greg Jarrett, and John Solomon, who were exposing Hunter Biden's relationship with a corrupt Burisma energy company in Ukraine. These people were branded conduits of Russian disinformation. So this Round River operation, FBI back then, 2020, was essentially the reverse mirror operation to Crossfire Hurricane. After investigating for 3 years disproven Democrat allegations of Russia collusion, the FBI flipped to discrediting significant evidence from its own informants about alleged Biden family corruption. Remarkably, the evidence released today by the White House shows the FBI had at least 14 confidential human sources reporting derogatory information on Joe Biden. FBI analysts during Round River went into some of their files and marked their intelligence as Russian disinformation to discredit it. An intelligence community review last year found that Round River team didn't even bother to determine if the Ukraine allegations on Hunter Biden were true. FBI Director Kash Patel has dismantled the team that ran that operation and has launched an investigation into its conduct. And there will be thousands more pages on that operation coming out in the weeks ahead. Director Patel's offered to take the unprecedented step of releasing the actual evidence that the confidential human sources were providing the FBI. Wow. That's something. The great Hans Moncke says, this is horrifically bad. There's no other word for it than a coup. We already knew that one of the central perpetrators privately described himself as running the shadow government, meaning an unelected apparatus operating behind and against the government the American people had actually chosen. But this disclosure takes it to much darker territory. They were not merely running a shadow government around Trump. They were using the FBI and intelligence apparatus to neutralize politically devastating information about Biden during the 2020 election, and they succeeded. Trump was not reelected. That means the unelected state apparatus did not merely defy an elected president, it secretly intervened in the democratic process to help drive him from power and install his opponent. That's a coup. It may not involve tanks in the streets or guns at the palace gates, but it is no less grave. And perhaps the most grotesque part is what came afterward. Everyone involved was simply allowed to walk away, resume their careers, collect their pensions, write their books, get TV gigs, and live as if the most appalling abuse of state power in modern American history never even happened. That's extremely concerning. Extremely concerning. So anyway, and I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do it again. Somebody said Trump deserves some criticism here for allowing people like Brian Auten to keep their jobs when they were hip deep in the original Russiagate scandal. He says, you knew I was a scorpion. Hans Moncke says, I can't blame Trump personally. He cannot possibly keep track of every one of these cases. But it's the job of the people he appointed to find them and do something about them. Take Peter Navarro, for instance. The guy who went after Peter Navarro is still working in Judge Jeanine Pirro's office right now. There are probably hundreds more like that scattered throughout DOJ and especially the FBI, and we would be foolish to imagine they're simply sitting there doing nothing. They'll keep obstructing and derailing the Trump agenda from inside the government, and then 6 years from now, we'll get some document dump telling us what they were doing all along. By then, the statutes and limitations will have expired. Everyone will be outraged for a few days, and once again, absolutely nothing will happen. Buddy, this is extremely concerning. Extremely concerning. It just goes back to what we keep on saying. Maybe CIA director hasn't fired enough people. Maybe the FBI director hasn't fired enough people. The people burrowed in there. Okay. We have Senator Cotton. Very good.
Doc.
Hey, Senator Tom Cotton, also chair of the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Welcome to the program. How are you, sir?
Doing very well, Doc. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on the show.
It's good to be back with you. It's good to be home. Good to be out of Washington.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For our listeners' context, for almost 7 months now, federal grand jury has been meeting in Fort Pierce, Florida, looking into whether the trumped-up Russiagate scandal was part of an ongoing criminal conspiracy. FBI Director Kash Patel has sounded hopeful that if that can be proven, there might be some accountability for a number of people in the intelligence community who illegally tried to bring the Trump administration and our country down. Unfortunately, last week, Washington reporter John Solomon alleged with what he called 100% certainty that you and Majority Leader John Thune were blocking a DOJ request for 2016 interview transcripts, former CIA Director John Brennan, and that was keeping the grand jury from deciding whether to indict Brennan. Of course, you forcefully denied Solomon's allegation on social media, but a week later, no journalist or even talk show host seems to have asked you for your side of the story. Can you please put this whole thing into context for our listeners?
Sure, Doc. Well, first, you got to step back and think about the context of 2015 and 2016 in the Russia collusion hoax,
yes, sir,
which has now been exposed beyond a shadow of a doubt to have been an information op run by the highest reaches of the Biden administration to try to tar Donald Trump, then a candidate for a president, which never made any sense, of course, Doc. I mean, think about it. If you're sitting in Moscow, who would you rather have president? Hillary Clinton, who wanted to cut defense spending and slash our nuclear modernization and reduce oil and gas production in the United States, or Donald Trump, who wanted to do all the opposite things? I mean, it just never made sense. It was an effort to hamstring the president from the very beginning. In the middle of that effort was John Brennan. And John Brennan has a lot to answer for. And I can tell you, Doc, I can't get into all the details. It's not just that he was at the center of the Russian collusion hoax, but he did a lot of damage to the CIA as well. And some of the so-called reforms he implemented, they still haven't fully recovered from that. It's made them less effectively focused on operations of gathering intelligence overseas. But put that aside. We've been working closely with the Department of Justice. We've provided them thousands of pages of documents they didn't otherwise have access to. There's no one who would like to see John Brennan brought to justice for any wrongdoing he committed than I. There's a couple other things.
That's what I thought. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Of course. So, surprisingly, not all anonymously sourced reports are always right, Doc, as you know.
Yeah.
We've been working, though, very closely with the Department of Justice to provide them with the information they need. As I said, we've already provided them with thousands of pages of documents. They're still going through that. I think they're still evaluating the evidence, putting their case together. If they come back to us and say they need more, then we will provide them everything we can, consistent with Senate rules and grand jury secrecy provisions.
Yeah. Did we just lose Senator Cotton?
No, Doc, I'm here.
Oh, okay, all right.
And I should say, and Doc, I should say too. Like, I mean, we focused on John Brennan because that was the source of the false report, or that was the subject of the false report.
Yeah.
Let's not remember that James Clapper and Jim Comey were in the middle of this as well. From the very beginning, I've supported the Department of Justice in pursuing any potential wrongdoing by anyone who was involved in the Russia collusion hoax, because it did immense damage, Doc, to the genuine patriots that we have working throughout the FBI and the CIA and other law enforcement and intelligence agencies, and undermining public support for them. And I mean, you probably know some of the FBI agents we had here in Central Arkansas. They're great Americans, and they were appalled by what happened in 2015 and 16 because it reflects poorly on them and their agency.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you putting that into context, and I realize there's some details you probably can't get into right now, but you know, we all make mistakes. Have you received an apology from John Solomon?
I have not, but I did speak with Todd Blanche. I will say there's been a little bit of friction at times with some of the line attorneys and other people in the Department of Justice as we've been working with them. But you know, I did get a call from Todd right before we were able to thankfully confirm him last week, and he said he understood. And he's going to make sure that nothing like no mishaps happen again. But we're all on the same page on this, Doc. We want to see anyone who committed any wrongdoing brought to justice, just like we're on the same page on, you know, cracking down on Medicaid fraud or going after all the left-wing fraudsters at the Southern Poverty Law Center, stopping birth tourism, promoting more federal-state cooperation in law enforcement in Arkansas. We're all on the same page.
Yeah. Now, speaking of holding people accountable, you've probably heard of a guy named Hassan Piker, who campaigns a lot of these, a podcaster campaigns a lot of these Democrat socialists in America, said that we deserve the 9/11 attacks. But, you know, that's a horrible thing to say, but it's covered by the First Amendment. What I think is not covered by the First Amendment is he has also said that the president and your colleague, Rick Scott, senator out of Florida, should both be shot. So I'm wondering, I don't know how often you talk to Todd Blanche or Kash Patel, but it seems like the guy's asking to be arrested and federally charged.
Well, Doc, I'll say first, I had not heard of Hassan Piker until very recently. I don't spend a lot of time, following every anti-Semite and America hater on social media or podcasts. But the reason why we're talking about Hassan Piker now is because Michigan nominated Abdul El Sayed, who is Hassan Piker's close friend. They campaigned together because to the U.S. Senate. And that's not just a matter for Michigan, Doc. I mean, this guy is going to come to the Senate and try to make laws under which we all live. And he is close friends and political allies with the guy that, as you said, thinks that 9/11 was justified or that we had it coming or whatever it was that he said.
Yeah.
The guy hates America. He hates America. He's anti-Semitic. And I had not seen what you just said, but yeah, I'm pretty sure, last I checked, there's a federal law against threatening federal officials to most especially threatening the president of the United States.
Absolutely.
That is no laughing matter. That is no laughing matter. And if that's the case, then I would definitely think the Department of Justice would want to look into Mr. Piker and what he's been up to.
Yeah, don't take my word for it. Anybody on your staff can Google it. I know you guys are busy with important stuff, and there's no way everybody can catch everything. No question. So couple of months before Dr. Fauci took the Fifth Amendment and Rand Paul's committee, which obviously he can't constitutionally do. Anyway, a couple of months earlier, back in May, Rand Paul had a CIA whistleblower, Jim Erdman, who testified that Fauci improperly influenced intelligence analyses about the origins of COVID-19 to downplay findings that it most likely resulted from a lab leak, something that you said, hey, maybe we should look into lab leak theory back in February 2020. Anyway, this Erdman guy, this whistleblower guy, claimed there was a wide-ranging cover-up in our intelligence community regarding COVID, and for some reason, the CIA wasn't too happy about him testifying before Senator Paul's committee. As chair of the Senate Intel Committee, do you think it would be helpful for maybe you to get the guy under oath to discuss his claims? Would that help move justice forward?
So Doc, first off, let me be clear about what I was saying in January and February of 22. It had no basis in intelligence whatsoever, no classified information.
Right.
Frankly, I didn't have any kind of unique or specialized scientific or medical information. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I was saying at the time, as you were saying at the time, as so many Americans with two eyes and a lick of common sense were saying at the time, gosh, it sure seemed likely that it probably came from those labs that have a history of safety violations and that research bat-based coronaviruses, since bats are not indigenous to that area of China for like hundreds of miles, and this food market that was the supposed ground zero didn't even sell bats.
Yeah.
This all just based on common sense factual observation. So at no point did I have any kind of specialized intelligence or medical or scientific knowledge, just using common sense like so many Arkansans could. Know that all of I can tell you as the head of the Intelligence Committee, all of the intelligence agency heads who have been involved in that, and there was reasonable disagreement at the time. I recall. I don't know if I can get into which agencies thought it came from the market and which agencies thought it came from the lab, but there were disagreements, and that on occasion happens, Doc. And in fact, it's something you should encourage. You don't want everyone to herd their opinion into one conformist point of view if they have genuine differences of opinion on what oftentimes very inconclusive evidence and intelligence suggests. But I know all the agency heads have been working and cooperating with the Department of Justice to make sure that if there was any misconduct in their agency, that the people who were responsible are held accountable and that they put systems and practices and policies in place to prevent it from happening in the future.
Absolutely. And you got a good point there. We want discussion. We don't want just one uniform way of looking at things, but clearly from everything that came out in the Fauci diaries that Rand Paul put out, for everything that's come out from the Fauci text that Ron Johnson's talking about the last couple of days, he definitely wanted just one way of looking at things. And
no question. And he was intimidated, and he was using his stature in the government and his newfound celebrity to intimidate any dissenters. And it was far bigger than just intelligence agencies. It was other public health agencies and scientific agencies in the government. It was elected legislators like me. There was a concerted effort to try to censor and silence anyone who didn't buy into the Fauci party line. I mean, I judging now from his diaries and his text message, Doc, I think we can understand why Joe Biden gave him a pardon.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, I get it. It's an auto pen pardon, but I mean, president's been using the auto pen since Harry Truman. I guess the Constitution doesn't say, when the president pardons somebody, how he has to write it down or anything. The only thing I think you can get around it is, there have been Oval Office employees under Biden who said Biden didn't know about all the pardons. But I guess if DOJ wanted to go after him criminally, they would have to prove that would be one of the audit-in pardons Biden didn't know about. And I don't know. That seems like a tough road to hoe.
Yeah, I suppose you're right about that, Doc. You know, I've got to say, though, as frustrating as it was to have Tony Fauci and so many other people pardoned, to me, the more critical thing that Tony Fauci's testimony reminds us is that Democrats will try to do this again. This is not just a historical curiosity. Look at what Abdul El-Sayed said at the time about COVID and lockdowns and masking kids in school. So if we allow the Democrats to take power back by electing radical socialists like Abdul El-Sayed or the guy up in Maine, the first guy was a socialist, and the second guy may not have a Nazi tattoo, but he's a socialist too. They're going to do this kind of thing again. This is what they say. This is what they believe.
Yeah.
So to me, the even more urgent priority for us over the next 2.5 months is to make sure that we stop these radical Democrats from taking power back in the House and the Senate. Because again, it may not, not going to elect them in Arkansas, but they're still going to be making laws for all of us to live under if they take power back.
Yeah, and I noticed Democrat Socialists of America Central Arkansas chapter has, of course, endorsed your crazy commie opponent, but that's a whole nother show. Tom Cotton, thank you so much for coming back on the Doc Washburn Show. As we say here in Arkansas, y'all come see us.
Thank you, Doc. Good to be on with you as always.
God bless. Thank you. All right. So, I mean, there you have it. There you have it. And ironically, Senator Cotton saying they'll do it again points to something that John Solomon said today when he got it right, just reporting on what the White House Government Transparency Task Force has released, documents newly declassified by President Trump that reveal a secret operation by the FBI and spy agencies to neutralize the Biden family corruption scandal during the 2020 election. Why does this not surprise me? Look, I gotta tell you something real quickly. One of the main reasons that I'm even back on the radio and still on the radio and able to do interviews like the one I just did with Tom Cotton is my buddy Greg Nally over at Northside Power. I mean, there is a reason they are Central Arkansas's #1 generator store. It's all about quality over volume. They're local experts, not a call center. Generators isn't something they do. It's all they do since 1978. So every once in a while, I just want to give a shout out to my buddy Greg Nally and thank him and Northside Power for keeping us on the air. I've heard rumors that it might be hot at some point this summer, so you might need a generator in case there's some kind of a storm. We all know what it's like to not have power in the dead of the summer. It might even get cold this coming winter. I think, do you remember there was snow back in February? We could get that again. So anyway, just thought I would mention that. I knew we weren't going to have time to talk Operation Round River with Senator Cotton. The United States senators are on a very, very tight time schedule. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to tell him that Hassan Piker is threatening the president and a fellow United States senator, because I'm thinking Tom Cotton doesn't have time to be on social media. And I don't know who on his staff may or may not have seen that, but they know about it now, which is why I said when he brought up Attorney General Todd Blanche, I'm like, well, I don't know how often you talk to Todd Blanche or Kash Patel, but you know about this because I think this guy needs to be arrested. Oh, I didn't know about that. Thanks. More coming up. Doc Washer Show 101.1 The Answer. I mean, instead of dead air, I guess I could, come back in and say something, right? No, actually, that was my Marcel Marceau impersonation. Now, for those of you under 70 years old, he was a famous mime back in the day. See, I thought the private eyes were watching you, But then Hall & Oates shut up 2 seconds into the hook. And I'm like, maybe they weren't watching you after all. You know what the problem is? It's one of those technical difficulties. And I think what happened is we probably have too much bandwidth, right? Yeah. Yeah, we got bandwidth trying to get out of the way of other bandwidth. That's the problem. So should I just start doing a story, or are we going to go back to commercials, or just wrap it up? Okay. All right, it's wrapped.
Hey, it's David Lucas. Over the years, I've learned something. Most people, they don't have a money problem. They have a coordination problem. It's not that they don't have investments. They have plenty of accounts, but none of them are working together. In other words, they have all the ingredients, but no recipe. And when that happens, retirement can start to feel complicated, even stressful. But retirement should feel like freedom, not friction. And most people, they don't need a miracle. They just need a clear plan. Because having a few good investments isn't enough. What really helps is having everything working together. And that's why at Lucas Total Wealth, we developed the Thrive Planning Framework, bringing together taxes, healthcare, risk management, income planning, vitality, and estate planning into one coordinated strategy. You can learn more at totalwealth.com. That's totalwealth.com. Don't just retire.
You have a
plan
child
to
or
thrive.
grandchild about to turn 26? Hi, it's Doc Washburn. My friend Tammy Chase is a local insurance professional who meets with you in person. She takes the time to listen and understand your needs. Tammy will explain all the options available in plain language that's easy to understand. She loves to help people, and she's an expert you can trust. Call my friend Tammy Chase for expert help in making it easy. Tell her Doc sent you. TammyChaseInsurance.com.
Tired of that outdated bath or shower but dread the cost and hassle of a lengthy remodel? Let Jacuzzi Bath Remodel come to the rescue with the perfect bathroom remodel at a price you can afford. Maybe stepping over that high bathtub feels unsafe, or you want to add a beautiful bath your whole family can enjoy. Whether it's a safer, easy entry shower complete with grab bars and a custom seat, to a beautiful spa-like family bath that's functional and stylish. With a Jacuzzi Bath Remodel, you can enjoy your personalized bath or shower installed in as little as 1 day. Right now, we're waiving all installation costs, plus offering no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. To schedule your free design consultation and quote, call now.
Call 800-384-2118. That's 800-384-2118. 800-384-2118. With purchase and installation financing through third-party lenders, subject to credit approval, no interest and no payments if paid in full within 12 months. Interest charged from purchase date if not paid in full. Not all will qualify. Some installs take longer. Call dealer for details.
America is at a tipping point. To ensure we stay the land of the free and home of the brave, you need to be informed and engaged. That's why we're here. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. Where you can get in touch with us. If we're talking about something you want to talk about, 501-401-1011. So, you know me. I never attack sacred cows. You know me. If you listen to Doc Washburn Show, I never want to rattle anybody's cage. I just kind of tell you what's going on out there. Sundance over to conservativetreehouse.com has an interesting little article about what happened in Minnesota last night. Did y'all hear about what happened in Minnesota last night? I feel like singing a song. I might be like Percy Sledge and just write one on stage. Anyway, after the article's entitled, After Advocating for Illegal Alien Leniency and Amnesty, Mike Lindell Gets Crushed in Minnesota Primary. Uh-oh. Say what? He says, hopefully this will be a lesson to multiple people, including President Trump. Okay, now, I've never seen Sundance at the conservativetreehouse.com criticize President Trump on anything. So I wasn't ready for this. He said there's no room for softness on the topic of deporting illegal aliens. In one of the biggest examples of a mistake in Republican campaigning, 3 weeks before the primary election, Minnesota governor candidate Mike Lindell, guy who was going for the Republican nomination for governor of Minnesota, made the fatal mistake of advocating for greater leniency for illegal aliens with inferred amnesty in his immigration platform. The backlash was fierce, righteous, and directly targeted. Lindell was blasted. Last night, despite the support and endorsement from President Trump, Mike Lindell was resoundingly defeated by Lisa DeMuth, the Republican Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives. Well, there it is, with 95% of the votes in at 2:40 in the morning. She had 43.5%. He had 32.5%. And unlike some states, there's no runoff. You don't have to get 50% plus one in Minnesota. Yeah, so that's I knew that was coming. No, I didn't know if Lindell could get the nomination, Republican nomination for governor in Minnesota, before he came out in favor of amnesty for illegals. I didn't know because I've never been to Minnesota and I don't know the political lay of the land up there. But here's what it says. Breaking. This is from Alpha News, conservative news operation in Minnesota. Breaking. Minnesota Republican Governor candidate Mike Lindell is facing criticism after the Washington Examiner reported that he supports 6-month amnesty for illegal immigrants. And that was back in July 22nd. A few weeks earlier, Lindell had told local media that under his proposal, anyone who's here that is an illegal immigrant would be able to get a conditional non-resident visa. He said, you're not a citizen, but you don't have to leave ever as long as a couple of things happen. Lindell said this would lead to an increase in tax revenue. He said, you take that money and you use it to legalize people. Lindell's primary opponent, Lisa DeMuth, said that she would expect this from Amy Klobuchar and Tim Walz, but I'm surprised to see it coming from a fellow GOP candidate for governor. I will work with the federal government to deport criminal illegal immigrants instead of giving them amnesty. Oh, buddy. I mean, I was really shocked that Mike Lindell went out on that limb. He even said on July 25th on leaked audio, I don't care if President Trump doesn't like his amnesty platform. So people are like, what the? And then people were digging through and coming up with all kinds of crazy stuff he had said back in the day, like in the George Floyd situation. He thought it wasn't enough for Officer Derek Chauvin to go to jail. All the other police officers there that day should also go to jail. Okay. Man. I mean, so Lindell goofed up big time. And see, here's the thing. Let me just tell you, I've seen this before. When it comes to electoral politics, and you got a guy who has been very successful that as a CEO of his own company, basically built his own company from the ground up, very successful, kind of had a vision for what he was doing. And it doesn't occur to him that getting into politics is completely different than starting, building, and managing a major corporation. So, especially if the CEO guy had such a great vision for his business and it was so blessed, it was so successful, and he didn't really have to listen to anybody's advice. Okay? So the idea that, okay, but now if I'm going to run for office, I need to hire somebody with a lot of experience in this political realm who can tell me what to do and how to do it. That's not something that they necessarily are going to take to. Why do I need advice? I've been successful all my life. You know, he literally, it was his testimony. He was a crack addict, and God, rescued him out of all of that. And God was with him on putting together the My Pillow company. And he just, somehow by the grace of God did all the right things, made a lot of money with My Pillow and the My Robe and the My Slippers and the My all the rest of the stuff, My blankets, everything. So why should he have to listen to somebody when he's going to run for Republican nomination for governor of Minnesota? So if he's sitting there thinking, hey, the illegal aliens, they're people too. They have families too. And we're being much too tough on them. And here's my plan. I guarantee you he didn't run that by a campaign consultant. I'll bet he never even hired a campaign consultant. And so when people started to give him grief about it, what does he do? He does what he always does. He hits back. It worked for his My Pillow company, but it didn't work running for governor. And now, unfortunately, he's refusing to concede even though he lost by 13 points. No, something's wrong, man. Yeah, something's wrong. What's wrong is that you goofed up. But again, this is the same guy, Mike Lindell, who went off on Governor Ron DeSantis when he won re-election as governor of Florida in 2022. He was the first Republican gubernatorial candidate in 20 years to take Miami-Dade, which had been a blue area. And Mike Lindell said, yeah, there's no way. There's no way. We're going to audit this because there's something shady going on there. Really? I mean, Jeb Bush took it in 2002, but DeSantis can't take it in 2022. Again, this had nothing to do with DeSantis running against Trump later on. But Lindell, I think, he's just kind of out there. And I say this as someone who loves his products, but he's just kind of out there. So anyway, I don't know if you have seen or you have heard that the defense for Tyler Robinson, they got a filing out today, which is pretty remarkable. And so remarkable that Candace Owens has basically canceled her show, canceled the debate. She seems to be overwhelmed by what Tyler Robinson's defense said in their filing today. And I'll tell you all about it coming up straight ahead as much as we possibly can between now and 6. As the Doc Washburn Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1, The Answer.
In the world of generators, trust, not marketing, defines success. Northside Power is a trusted name when the fire goes out. We're ranked number 1 in generator, sales, service, and installation. No gimmick and no side hustle. No matter your home's needs, Northside Power installs, service, and monitors generators 24/7. When the power goes out, excuses don't keep your lights on. Experience does. That's Northside Power. Generators isn't something we do, it's all we do. In the world of generators, trust, not marketing, defines success. Northside Power is a trusted name when the fire goes out. We're ranked number one in generator, sales, service, and installation. No gimmick and no side hustle. No matter your home's needs, Northside Power installs, service, and monitors generators 24/7. When the power goes out, excuses don't keep your lights on. Experience does. That's Northside Power. Generators isn't something we do, it's all we do.
When you need the news that matters most, you need the Doc Washburn Show. Live and local, Doc covers the latest breaking news from Arkansas and across the nation. Plus, he digs into the stories no one else is talking about, the issues that affect you, your family, and your community. Smart analysis, straight talk, real conversations. The Doc Washburn Show.
Hey, Doc, I appreciate you taking my call. I feel really confident to say anytime that I turn on the radio and you're on the radio, I know that I'm going to get accurate reporting. I'm going to get unbiased perspective. And I want you to know I appreciate it. You do an exceptional job. So I'm listening with intent because I know and I trust that you're going to give us the facts and not an opinion per se.
The Doc Washburn Show, weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. on 101.1. The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Join me weekdays for This Morning, America's First News. Hear the stories you'll be talking about and searching for all day as we go beyond the headlines and above the chatter with your first look at breaking news, money, Washington politics, technology, entertainment, entrepreneurship, and sports. We explain why stories matter. That's why we are referred to as the most important and relevant radio program. Join us weekdays for This Morning, America's First News.
We bring you the biggest news stories of the day. Not to tell you what to think, but to allow you to have the most information so you can make up your mind. 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. If you want to talk about what we're talking about, number to call is 501-401-1011. The great Sarah Fields, you might remember her. She is an independent investigative journalist. She covered the Carmelo Anthony trial. Now she's got this. Breaking. Tyler Robinson's defense filing is out, submitted by his attorneys August 11th, following the preliminary hearing, and the entire filing is absolutely ludicrous. And she links to the whole thing in this thread with her summary. Tyler Robinson's defense is essentially arguing that, yes, Charlie Kirk was deliberately targeted. Yes, one shot was fired directly at him. And yes, Robinson allegedly admitted, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I took it. But somehow, the defense is arguing that the state is reaching too far with the additional charges and aggravating factors. Their argument against the great risk of death aggravator, in other words, to make sure it's a death penalty case, that's an aggravating factor, is almost absurdly simple. The defense says Tyler Robinson fired one shot. They said he intended to hit Charlie. He hit Charlie. Nobody else was hit. Therefore, according to the defense, Tyler Robinson did not knowingly create a great risk of death to anyone else. Never mind that this happened at a crowded public event. Never mind that he was allegedly firing a high-powered rifle from a rooftop toward an area filled with people. The defense team for Tyler Robinson argues that because the bullet traveled downward, hit its intended target, and did not strike anyone else, prosecutors cannot establish the required risk to another person merely because people were nearby. Tyler Robinson's defense even attacks the significance of the shooting targets recovered from Robinson's apartment. His defense's argument? They say the state supposedly cannot establish when those targets were shot, what firearm was used, or whether Tyler Robinson personally fired every shot at those targets. They similarly dismissed the screwdriver found on the roof, arguing that its existence doesn't prove that Tyler Robinson took the rifle apart or reassembled it. Then we get to witness tampering. Tyler Robinson's defense. This is an amazing filing. Robinson told Lance Twiggs to, quote, ask for a lawyer and stay silent, unquote, if police questioned him. So the state charged Robinson with witness tampering based on the allegation that he was attempting to induce his roommate to withhold information. Tyler Robinson's defense says absolutely not. According to them, Robinson was merely giving Lance Twiggs perfectly innocent constitutional advice. The defense's position is that because Robinson also allegedly said he intended to turn himself in and told Lance Twiggs to be polite to police, this was altruistic advice, not an attempt to interfere with an investigation. Then there are the children. Children under 14 years old were at the Charlie Kirk event at UVU, Utah Valley University. The defense does not dispute that children under 14 were at the event. Instead, they argue the prosecutors cannot prove Tyler Robinson knew that children under 14 were there. Their reasoning is that Robinson was approximately 400 feet away and allegedly spent only 35 to 44 seconds positioned on the rooftop before the shot. They literally distinguished this from shooting at an elementary school or daycare, where someone's knowledge that children were present could reasonably be inferred. Because this happened on a college campus, they say the state cannot establish that Robinson knew children were in that crowd. And then we arrive at perhaps the most ridiculous argument in the entire filing: political motivation. Charlie Kirk was one of the most recognizable political activists in America. Tyler Robinson wrote, quote, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I took it, unquote. He also said, quote, I had enough of his hatred, unquote. But according to the defense, that's still not enough for political motivation. Why? Because Robinson apparently didn't provide prosecutors with a neat little itemized list explaining precisely which Charlie Kirk political position he hated. That is essentially their argument. This is just amazing to me. Now, sometimes what I do when we're looking at a really horrible case like this one is think about how it is really a hard road to hoe for the defense. It's like, well, gee, I wonder what a defense attorney would do with this. Anyway, she says they acknowledge the hatred argument, but argued that Tyler Robinson never specifically identified whether he meant Charlie Kirk's politics, religion, views on gender, sexuality, or something else. They attack the state's attempt to connect Tyler Robinson's relationship with Lance Twiggs and Twig's gender identity to Charlie Kirk's well-known positions on those issues as speculation. And here's what makes the entire filing so bizarre. The defense repeatedly relies on the argument that Charlie Kirk was specifically and intentionally targeted whenever that fact helps Robinson, while simultaneously demanding extraordinary specificity when that same targeting could support an aggravating factor. When arguing against grave risk to others, Charlie was the intended target. When arguing against political targeting, well, you can't prove exactly why Charlie was the intended target. When arguing about the children, you can't prove he knew they were there. When arguing about witness tampering, he wasn't telling Twiggs to withhold information. He was just giving him some friendly constitutional advice. That's a strategy. This filing does not read like a defense claiming that Charlie Kirk was accidentally shot. Quite the opposite. It repeatedly treats Kirk as the specifically intended target for purposes of its legal arguments. The defense is trying to surgically remove the additional charges and aggravating circumstances by demanding that prosecutors independently prove every required element instead of allowing the circumstances surrounding the assassination to fill in those gaps. That is their job as defense attorneys, but people should understand exactly what they're arguing. One carefully aimed shot at Charlie, proof that nobody else is knowingly endangered. Children in the crowd, proof he knew they were children. Prove it, in other words. Not proof, but prove he knew they were children. Tell your roommate to stay silent, just friendly legal advice. I had enough of his hatred. Prove what kind of hatred he meant. Give me a break. And she links to the entire filing from the defense team for Tyler Robinson. It is remarkable. But no wonder Candace Owens canceled her show. No wonder she canceled any debate with anybody, because you got the defense team admitting that Tyler Robinson intentionally shot Charlie Kirk for the purposes, it's part of their defense strategy to try to get the court to kick out the aggravating factors which would lead to the death penalty in the state of Utah. Okay, they're like, okay, we'll give you this. He shot Charlie Kirk and he meant to shoot Charlie Kirk, but only one shot. He didn't mean to endanger anybody else. Have you ever seen a defense team do something like that? Maybe if you're a lawyer, you have, but I'm a guy who just follows the news and legal stuff, and it's a new one on me. I don't know. I can't call it, fam. I ain't gonna lie. The great Dave Ellswick and Val Emmons, scheduled for 7:06 tomorrow morning. I'm Doc Washburn. Looking forward to seeing you at 4:06 tomorrow afternoon, God willing. 101.1 The Answer.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
In 1783, the Revolutionary War was nearly over, but America's future remained uncertain. Officers in the Continental Army were angry. Congress had failed to provide promised pay, and some considered using the Army's power to force the government's hand. George Washington understood their frustration, but he also knew the liberty they had fought to win could be destroyed by the very army that secured it. Washington confronted his officers and urged them to choose honor, patience, and loyalty to the Republic over rebellion. He could have used their anger to increase his own power. Instead, he used his influence to restrain it. Power asks what it can take. Character asks what duty requires. Washington's lesson still stands. Freedom survives when leaders place principle above ambition and remain faithful to God, country, and the people they serve.
Find us at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Download our app, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Caroline Leavitt is stepping down for a White House spokesperson role.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is leaving her post at the end of August to spend more time with her young family after the recent birth of her second child. As he announced her departure, President Trump described her as one of his most trusted aides, saying she would continue to be one of his top outside advisors. In a social media post, Leavitt called it a bittersweet decision and that she felt in her heart she cannot be the best mom her two young children deserve while devoting the constant time, energy, and attention required of the White House press secretary. Leavitt served the president as a press aide during his first term in the White House and is the youngest person to hold the role of press secretary at age 28. I'm Jennifer King.
Germany is beefing up its intelligence services as threats from foreign powers become more of a concern.
The German cabinet on Wednesday approved draft legislation meant to strengthen the nation's foreign and domestic intelligence services and reduce the reliance of the EU's most populous nation on tips from its allies. The powers of Germany's Federal Intelligence Service, the BND, and its domestic intelligence service, the BFV, have long lagged behind those of major European counterparts. Officials say the services will get more powers to access laptops, cell phones, and other devices, and also take what they call active measures. This reform has been planned for months and still requires parliamentary approval. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Officials say an Army Apache attack helicopter crashed in a central Texas field, killing both people on board and sparking a wildfire that forced several homes to be evacuated. On Wall Street, a mixed day as the Dow was down by 21 points. The Nasdaq rose 143. The S&P advanced 20. More at townhall.com.
Hi, I'm Kirk Cameron. Christian Healthcare Ministries is not another health insurance policy. If you're tired of year-long contracts and pointless restrictions, CHM offers anytime enrollment on your schedule and at your convenience. With CHM, you're paying half the cost of a traditional health insurance plan. So that puts more money back into your budget for everyday needs. Plus, you'll have access to CHM's care solutions for virtual appointments, prescription savings, surgery support, and more. My family and I joined in 2018, and it's changed our lives for the better. We love paying way less while helping other believers afford their medical bills. Take the leap of faith and see why Christians across the nation are better with CHM.
Get started by calling 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS for a 50% credit towards your first month. That's 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg, 101.1 The Answer. Toyota is recalling about 655,000 Camry vehicles worldwide because of a display problem. The issue can deactivate turn signals, hazard lights, and other safety warnings during startup. More than 508,000 2025 and 2026 Camry hybrids in the U.S. are affected. Arkansas lawmakers and the NAACP are calling for answers after a state trooper punched an 18-year-old during a traffic stop. Dashcam video shows Trooper Moises Ariano taking Alyssa Hackett to the ground and striking her in the face. Ariano remains on active duty as the incident is reviewed. Arkansas State Police are investigating the death of a 43-year-old inmate serving a decades-long prison sentence. David Pyle of Springdale was sentenced to 33 years for fatally stabbing 30-year-old Cody Tisdale on Christmas Eve 2021. Officials have not released details on when or how Pyle died. Tammy Chase Insurance, your local insurance expert, taking the time to understand your needs with no confusion and no pressure. Find out more at TammyChaseInsurance.com. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm Tony Desiri, 101.1 The Answer. NFL, the Dallas Cowboys opening up their preseason schedule on Saturday night, facing the Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field. Dallas held a joint workout with the Rams in Los Angeles Tuesday. Quarterback Dak Prescott will not play Saturday in the preseason opener. Joe Milton and Will Greer will be getting the reps. Major League Baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals are playing this afternoon, wrapping up their series with the Philadelphia Phillies. The Cardinals won Tuesday night 2-0. Everson Pereira with a home run. Andre Palante tossed 6 scoreless innings. Friday, they'll face the Cubs at Wrigley Field. NASCAR racing under the lights at Richmond Saturday. It's the Cookout 400. 3 races remaining before the start of the 10-race playoff. Austin Dillon is the race's defending champion. They will go 400 laps around Richmond's D-shaped layout, which will run 300 miles. The sports update brought to you by Progressive. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri with your sports flash on 101.1 The Answer.
If things don't change, can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1, The Answer. There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1, The Answer.
Thursday edition of the Dave Ellswick Show. It's going to be a good one. In the first hour, bumper to bumper, as they usually are, I'll be on with us on this Thursday. But Duck and Joe will be in the studio together. If you want to ask them a question about your car, give them a call at 501-1011. That's where you get a hold of them, and you can talk to them on the air about your particular problem. David Fisher will be on and talk about the economy as well.
For what? Sir, yes, sir!
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Larry Elder here, the sage from South Central, the Prince of Pico Union, the czar of common sense, the great Eldersky, Don Lorenzo. Welcome to the program. No Victocrats allowed because we've got a country to save. So let's get her teed up!
You want to play rock? Say hello to my little friend. What the hell's going on here? Ooh, that's a bingo.
You can't succeed without teeth.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are Salem News Channel coming to you from the Relief Factor studio. Don't forget your Relief Factor, 800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF, relieffactor.com. That's relieffactor.com. We're going to get to Iran in just a minute, but first a couple things. Michael Irvin was a star player with the Dallas Cowboys. And he was talking about how his relatives are mooching off of him and said that white players don't have this problem. Number 33.
The white players, they got every dime of their money. They got to worry about none of that. Yeah. They really don't. I got 16 brothers. I bet I own 7 homes right now in Florida. And I got 7 homes and I got 7 all of them homes, and they won't leave. And they ain't paid rent in 30 years. And they'll call me and say, hey, Michael, we need some new cabinets in the cabinets in the house. You've been staying there for 30 years. You ain't paid rent or nothing. And what are you doing? We have these burdens that they don't, because our family felt, remember I brought you some sneakers when you were in the 8th grade. You should be able to get me this house. Like sneakers. Why can't I get you some Jordans? Why do I gotta get you a house?
White players don't have these problems. We have these problems that they don't have. What does race have to do with this? I was in Cleveland when Bernie Kosar was the quarterback. Wonderful player. Lost his money because his father wanted to manage his money, and he admits he spent a lot of money on his family. He felt obligated. What does race have to do with it? Your inability to say no to your relatives who've been living off you for 30 years has to do with race. White players don't have those problems. Your weakness, your refusal to manage your own money properly is about race. Let me hear that one more time.
The white players, they got every dime of their money. They got to worry about none of that. Yeah. They really don't. I got 16 brothers. I bet I own 7 homes right now in Florida. And I got 7 homes and I got 7 all of them homes, and they won't leave. And they ain't paid rent in 30 years. And they'll call me and say, hey, Michael, we need some new cabinets in the cabinets in the house. You've been staying there for 30 years. You ain't paid rent or nothing. And what are you doing? We have these burdens that they don't, because our family felt, remember I brought you some sneakers when you were in the 8th grade. You should be able to get me this house. Like sneakers. Why can't I get you some Jordans? Why do I gotta get you a house?
We have these burdens that, quote, they don't have. There's a wonderful documentary on ESPN's 30 by 30 called Broke. It's about all these athletes who within a few years of retiring from Major League Baseball or football or the NBA are broke. And a lot of them in this documentary were white. Speaking of football, Abdul El Sayed once compared it to slavery, although he was a high school football player. Don't ask me how football ended up being compared to slavery, but you know, what do I know? This is an Arkansas high school football player who practiced for nearly an hour with a poisonous snake inside his helmet. He didn't know it was there. Number 45.
Okay, for the most horrifying story you will ever hear. Snake in the grass? No. How about snake in the helmet? A 2-foot-long, highly venomous cottonmouth snake somehow slithered its way into an Arkansas high school football player's headpiece. You can see it here hiding behind the inner padding. But guys, the player practiced for an hour with it stuck up there before he started noticing the horrifying feeling around his head. This is a closer look. Apparently, one of the coaches spotted it when he brought in his helmet for an inspection during that practice. Eventually, school staff secured it in a tote bag until Animal Services came to take it away. Griff has been chomping at the bit all morning to talk about
It's such a crazy story. It gives snakes on a plane a whole new meaning. And in Arizona, everybody's afraid of rattlesnakes,
We
right?
shake everything.
This is in Little Rock. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. The cottonmouth is the most dangerous snake. I just can't believe he played for an hour. Finally, he's like, hey, coach, something's wrong with my helmet. And they look in there and there's a 2-foot cottonmouth. Are you kidding me?
Enough is enough. I have had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday play.
Well, he's okay, and more importantly, the snake's okay. Now, on Iran, President Trump says they upgraded the pipelines and are now able to circumvent 5 to 7 million barrels a day around the Strait of Hormuz. Number 44.
Look, the only one that has control of the Strait of Hormuz right now is the United States Navy. We have a blockade that's been infallible. It's a steel wall. And we let people in that we want to let in, and those people come in, and they've been coming in and they're going out. So it's actually open now. We do not let them go into Iran. They're not admitted into the strait to go to Iran. But it's open for others. Now, a little bit complex because they will, on occasion, drop a mine, and we find the mines. You know, we've mine swept the entire strait, as you probably maybe heard, maybe you didn't hear. But we control the strait 100%. Now, can they make trouble? Yeah, they can make trouble. But they're broke. They have no money. You know, Iran is broke.
Speaking of them being broke, this is the member of the Heritage Foundation, Victoria Coates, who was the Deputy National Security Advisor under Trump 1.0, number 72.
I think there's every reason to believe that Iran will blink first for the simple reason that they're simply running out of money. And our UN ambassador, Mike Waltz, said yesterday, you know, there's one man that they're really afraid of. And you know who that is? That's Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, that they are feeling this economic pressure like never before. And bear in mind, President Trump did this in the first term. We had the maximum pressure campaign. By the end of his first term, we had them down to single digits of billions of dollars in accessible foreign reserves. And that's default territory. So this isn't about them feeling pain. They're well past that stage. This is about them literally running out of money. They can't pay their soldiers. They can't pay their besieged, their security forces. That's when things start to fall apart.
Iran is counting on the unpopularity of Trump, the unpopularity of the war, the unpopularity of rising gas prices, and the impending midterm elections. Here's General Jack Keane, military expert, Fox News, number 66.
As we move closer, despite the success of the economic
blockade. I've always felt that the people running the country don't care that much about their own people suffering here. What they really care about is staying in power and the influence they believe they have over this administration moving towards the midterms. I'm convinced, listen, just in the last few weeks, they've conducted 22 attacks. And as we get closer, I think we run the risk of the frequency may increase, but also the purpose of the attack and the violence of the attack may also. And the reason for that is clearly in their minds, they think the closer they get to the midterm elections in terms of their actions, the less likelihood the president to respond militarily against them. Now, listen, you would think by now that all this time that this regime has been dealing with our president, that they would learn a little bit from their miscalculation that they've done in the past, and it's been quite considerable. He has all the cards here. I believe the best card to play is a combination of all the economic levers that we're using, the blockade, what Secretary Besant is doing with sanctions and other things he's doing is quite remarkable, and also military power. And I do think change takes place as a result of that.
Now, President Trump commented on the Iranians as negotiators, and he also commented on the demand that Iran has made for reparations. And President Trump had a response to that. Reparations? Who should be paying reparations? How about all the soldiers they've injured, killed? What about the Cobalt Towers? What about all of the soldiers that they have attacked with their drones? Who should be paying reparations? President Trump said, to whom? I'm going to have that for you. Also, a Marine held by the Russians have now been returned to America, and President Trump gave nothing in return for his return. All of this and more. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Now, when it comes to supplements, two things matter most: that it works and that you can trust it. And rather than just tell you about Relief Factor, we let our customers do it. We hear from people every single day whose lives have changed, and we'd like you to hear a few of their stories. Jim ran out of Relief Factor twice, and both times his aches, stiffness, and pain came back. Once he restarted it, he says he felt better again. As Jim puts it, you know something's working when you run out of it. I know that feeling. As I mentioned, I had back issues. Went on vacation, forgot my Relief Factor. Within days, the pain came back. Now, they make it easy to find out if you'll be the next person telling us Relief Factor help you tackle your daily aches and pain. 3 weeks, just $17.76. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, 800-4-RELIEF, 800 the number 4 relief.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds and you're overweight. Winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you got to call Big Lou because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-555-2085, 800-555-2085 or biglou.com.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just
hard on both of us. But, try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Breaking news, real analysis, no apologies. This is 101.1 The Answer.
Call Larry at 888-971-SAGE. That's 888-971-7243. Now from the Relief Factor studio, here's Larry.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are Salem News Channel number 67.
We have three powerful studies. We could just keep it alone, and they're going to fail. We could just keep, doing sort of just like nice and easy, relax. Like I said, I'm sort of negotiating. You see, they're very devious negotiators because they'll agree to something, then they'll go out and tell the press that they never
did not
do it. No, they're very dishonest people. So we have three strategies. Do what I'm doing now, just bop along and look how bad they're doing because the nations, they've got 300% inflation. They have no value. Their currency has almost no value. They have, they're not paying their soldiers. Their soldiers are leaving. So just keep that going because that's not sustainable. Hit them really, really hard. Or, really the third is just beat them economically, but we're doing that anyway. That's sort of a part of the first step. So economically, they are a mess. They can't borrow money. We control their money, what they had, which is a lot. They had a lot. And we have total control of it. I'm their banker. I am their banker.
As to their demand for reparations, here's what President Trump said, number 48.
Questions, please?
Mr. President, in addition to this big announcement, you've also been posting about Iran today opposing their latest demands. You said this last round of talks was Iran's last chance before decapitation. So what now? What comes next?
You'll find out.
Are you still, are massive escalation, is that still on the table?
Well, we have that certainly that ability if we want to do that. Yeah, you'll find out.
You said you're low-keying it with them, but you're semi-negotiating. What exactly does that mean?
Well, they asked for reparations, you might say, or they asked for money for the damage that we've done. I said, that's a good idea. Well, we're going to ask for money for the damage they've done over a 50-year period. Whether you go SS Cole or whether you go all of the people that were so badly hurt, so badly wounded or killed, many thousands of people, and maybe damages for the 52,000 protesters over the last 4 months that were killed in Iran. We think their family should get damages for killing their person or their child or mother, father that were protesting. It's at least, it was 52,000 a month and a half ago. So now what is it? So if there's damages to be paid, I think Iran should pay those damages.
Mr. President, going back to the subject of Iran, sir, can you give us any estimate of when you think the Strait of Hormuz will be?
Well, it's open now. We're taking a lot of shit. It's open now. Look, the only one that has control of the Strait of Hormuz right now is the United States Navy. We have a blockade that's been infallible. It's a steel wall. And we let people in that we want to let in, and those people come in, and they've been coming in and they're going out. So it's actually open now. We do not let them go into Iran. They're not admitted into the strait to go to Iran. But it's open for others Now, a little bit complex because they will, on occasion, drop a mine, and we find the mines. You know, we've mine swept the entire strait, as you probably maybe heard, maybe you didn't hear, but we control the strait 100%. Now, can they make trouble? Yeah, they can make trouble, but they're broke. They have no money. You know, Iran is broke, totally broke, and they're not paying their soldiers. They have inflation of 300% as of last night. I heard 309%. So we'll see what happens, but they've been bad for, they say 47, it's actually 50 now. 47, they've been saying it for 3 years. But for 50 years, they've been the bully of the Middle East. What they've done is terrible. They've killed hundreds of thousands of people. They've killed people, they've wounded and maimed people with the legs, the arms, you know, with the roadside bomb is their bomb. They're very proud of it. And now they're paying a price. Thank you very much, everybody.
In about a half hour or so, we're going to talk to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., HHS Secretary, about a number of things, including his initiative against fraud, number 46.
My predecessor, Xavier Becerra, when he came into my agency, there were only 80 people in program integrity, 80 people. This is for 50 states and 5 territories. These are the people who are monitoring $2.2 trillion in payments annually from my agency. We do 4 million transactions a day. There's only 80 people looking at those. Xavier Becerra came in and transferred 76 of them out. So that when I came in, there's only 6 people who are in charge of all program integrity for my department. And it was an invitation for the fraudsters to come in and steal everything. And that's why we have this hospice program. We've closed thousands of hospices here in Los Angeles because they didn't have patients. They were just billing us $6,000 a month for phony accounts. And the durable medical equipment fraud, tens of billions of dollars here in Los Angeles County. Autism services, tens of billions of dollars, all stolen because nobody was minding the store. Xavier Becerra came in and he instituted a program called Pay and Chase. What that means is when we get an invoice from a hospice that we know is fraudulent, we know that hospice is not treating patients. They've been busted before. We have algorithms that can identify that this is almost certainly a fraudulent case. His policy was you pay them and then you chase it. You go back and try to claw it back, which of course never happens. This was an insane policy. We shut that down.
Pay and chase. Pay them and then try and get the money back a little later. Are you kidding me? 8 people, and I believe HHS is the largest department. Non-defense. 8 people tracking fraud, down from 80 when Biden first came in. Are you kidding me? We're also going to talk to RFK Jr. about his initiatives to deal with homelessness here in Los Angeles. And there's a new schedule on vaccines that have been recommended. Now, when it comes to supplements, 2 things matter most. That it works and you can trust it. Rather than just tell you about Relief Factor, we let our customers do it. We hear from people every single day whose lives have changed. We'd like you to hear a few of their stories. Joni shared that before Relief Factor, her husband couldn't open his hands in the morning and had to give up playing guitar. Now he wakes up with flexibility. He's back to playing music. They're both recommending Relief Factor to friends as a way to enjoy the things they love again. I take it every single morning for back issues. And they make it easy to find out if you'll be the next person telling us Relief Factor helps you enjoy what you love. 3 weeks, $17.76. Just go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call 800-4RELIEF, 800 the number 4 relief. We'll connect you with our friendly local team, relieffactor.com, 800 the number 4 relief.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, fire over yonder.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt will be leaving the Trump administration at the end of the month to spend time with her young family. The 28-year-old Leavitt called it a bittersweet decision in a social media post Wednesday, shortly after President Trump announced she'd be stepping down. She is the youngest person in history to hold the role and recently gave birth to her second child. An Army Apache attack helicopter crashed in a central Texas field, killing both people on board and sparking a wildfire that forced several homes to be evacuated. Officials from nearby Fort Hood announced the AH-64 Apache helicopter had crashed Wednesday. A spokesman for the Bell County Sheriff's Office confirmed that both occupants died. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 21 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Hey, I'm Brant, and her name is Sherry.
Hello.
She's a friend of mine whom we were just praying for because of a surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is
MediShare.
That is right.
Yeah. So what was your experience like with MediShare and the healthcare bills?
Honestly, Brant, seamless. And what a blessing that is when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was.
Yeah.
Members shared my expenses. There were zero problems. And let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in with your need, that is just...
It is refreshing.
Yes, that's what it is.
So I keep telling people love MediShare and they love saving tons of money too. The typical family can save $500 a month.
I am very thankful for MediShare. It is so different. And I mean different in a very, very good way.
It is good different. Call now. They're easy to talk to and you can get a price within 2 minutes. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-40.
This is David Lucas. I have a question for you. Have you ever tried putting together a puzzle without the picture on the front of the box? You have all the pieces, but it's hard to see how they're supposed to fit together. And for many people, that's what retirement feels like. Even people who've worked hard and saved well still find themselves wondering and asking questions like, do we really have a plan or just a pile of accounts? Will our income last? Are we paying more in taxes than we should? And maybe the hardest question of all, if something happened to you tomorrow, would your spouse know where everything is, who to call, and what to do next? At Lucas Total Wealth, we help families bring everything together through our Thrive Planning Framework. You can learn more at TotalWealth.com. That's TotalWealth.com. Don't just retire, plan to thrive.
Investment advisory services are offered through Lucas Total Wealth, an Arkansas registered investment advisor. Arkansas Insurance License, number 1-615-2743.
What if you could take 101.1 The Answer with you everywhere? You can. Download the 101.1 The Answer app and stay connected to the voices you trust, live and on demand. Wake up with Dave Ellswick. Stay sharp with Doc Washburn. And hear from national voices like Chris DeGaulle, Scott Jennings, Hugh Hewitt, Larry Elder, and Mike Gallagher. Breaking news, bold opinions, local insight, national perspective, all in one place, all in your pocket, at work, in the car, on the go. If it matters to Arkansas and America, you'll hear it on 101.1 The Answer. Plus, stream us live anywhere. Catch up on podcasts and never miss a moment. Search 101.1 The Answer in your app store and download it today. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. This is 101.1 The Answer.
Coming to you live from the Relief Factor studio, here's Larry Elder.
Is everything better? Is everything funner? Is everything more awesome? Like, how do you kind of view this year versus maybe the years of the past?
I'm going to plead the fifth.
Okay.
Okay.
Like
Gotta
that.
love that guy.
Okay.
Like that absolute coward, Tony Fauci. Absolute coward.
Yeah.
Eric's back,
Are you
baby.
kidding me?
Yeah, 111
You got a
times.
pardon and you're in front and you pleaded over 100 times
Yeah.
at the White House. What are you scared of, Tony?
Yeah.
I thought you were the science.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought you were. I am science, and you get up there and you can't answer